Okay, I think we're mic'd up and ready to go. I'd like to call the council back to order, and we will begin with taking up item 8. Chris?
Let's see. Science plan. And so we're going to, Dr. Goodwin is not in attendance today, but his esteemed colleague, Mr.
Reiner
Haneke,
was just here.
Right here.
Oh,
He's
I'm
right here.
sorry. I was looking for you out here.
Even though I'm not Dr. Goodwin, he sends his regrets. He's still in Folsom at the IEP conference.
Reiner, would it be okay if you do move out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the council would like to make better eye contact with you than.
Do you need anything else here?
This table setting is a little bit like the wedding party table. It's hard to make eye contact. Sorry about that, but I think this will serve you and the council.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Council. I'm Reiner Haneke, Deputy of the Delta Science Program, and Dr. Goodwin sends his regrets. He was double booked, and he's actually part of implementing the draft science plan already by vetting quite a bit of the ideas with some of the scientists that actually are assembled at the Interagency Ecological Program Conference as we speak. So most of the highlights are in your agenda binder. In the interest of time, unless you have particular questions or follow-up requests, I can just skim through those really quickly, but are there any specific requests to dive into details?
Council, any questions? No.
Okay. We have our Sea Grant intern and fellow here. Emily Mortazawi just wanted to give you a quick highlight on the statistics by the numbers. I think that's going to go straight forward, and it's pretty quick. But I think it's going to be interesting to find out what our most recent findings are of how snowpack is doing and how the reservoirs are filling up.
Emily, you have to push the red button. Thank you for coming. It's good to see you again.
Nice to see you too. So you've gotten the by the numbers report from Peter the past couple times, and he thought since I put it together, maybe I should start giving it to you and have a little exposure. So you have the sheet as attachment 1 to agenda item 8, and so, sorry, you guys are an intimidating bunch. I'll get used to it like the legislative interns after a couple times.
Deep breath, and everything will be fine.
Anyway, so it's no secret that we're in a pretty dry year, actually critical for the San Joaquin River area, and we have the average snowpack for this time of year right now is only 36% of what it should be. In the northern Sierras, we still have... we have precipitation that was 92% of what it should be, and in the southern Sierra, which is one of the reasons why it's a little worse down there, is it's only at 69%, and you can see that reflected in the reservoir storages, where the northern ones in Oroville and Shasta are pretty much at 100% of normal, what they should be, but the San Luis one in the south is only at 57%. As requested from the last time Peter gave this, we added the numbers for the Sacramento and San Joaquin River discharge. Sacramento is at Freeport, so it has the input of the American River in it, and it is about 7,000 cubic feet per second. And then the San Joaquin River discharge is about 3,000 cubic feet per second, And this is particularly important right now, the San Joaquin at Vernalis, is because this regulates how much can actually be pumped out at Clifton Court and the Jones pumping plant due to the National Marine Fisheries Service reasonable and prudent actions requirement of 1-to-1 pumping during critical years. So however much is coming out of Vernalis is how much they're actually allowed to pump out. So it cannot exceed the amount here. And also this low flow from the rivers leads to this X2 position, which was on here last time, and Peter mentioned it's sort of a gauge of the salinity intrusion into the delta. And as of present, it is greater than 81 kilometers, and during anything over 75 kilometers is considered critical. And from June to August, if it's over 82%, which you can see we're pretty close to in April, then pumping could be curtailed and minimized because of that. So from there, I think I'm going to go down to since we're talking about pumping and all of that, go down to the sort of ecological bottom ones there in green. And happy to say that we have had 0 adult delta smelt salvaged since March 25th. So that's over a month of no delta smelt being taken. And this sort of is expected because the amount of adult delta smelt sort of move out of the southern delta at this time during late March and April. And so the delta smelt working group has sort of made their preliminary season totals of 260 delta smelt being salvaged, which was only 72% of the revised take limit. So won't have to really worry about that. But I also added here the daily loss density of steelhead salmon, and this actually earlier in the month did affect the amount of pumping that occurred, because anything over 8. Oh, sorry, I should explain what it is. This is amount of steelhead salmon that's taken at the pumps per 1,000 acre feet that is pumped out. So anything over 8 triggers a restriction on triggers reductions of 5 days of pumping to be no less than 25% negative of 25,000 CFS. Or 2,500 CFS. Sorry, 100. A lot of numbers running in my head.
100.
But so I thought I would put that on your radar. It's come down obviously quite a bit since then, but it did have an effect during the middle of the month and may still be a problem because there's steelhead spawning right now. Also, to your request, we had the allocations of water supply, and these haven't actually changed since the last time we talked, but instead of having the percentages, there is the actual acre feet. And you didn't mention having it like per foot of acreage of service area, but actually finding the service area was a little bit difficult to get a hold of. It wasn't as clear, but I was able to get the actual ones, and these are both around 400,000 acre feet for this year. And I would like to note that the federal water, the CDP water supply for south of the Delta, that does not include Frant Dam water.
Mm-hmm. Keep working on the acreage, because I think from a communications perspective, it's important for people to realize what these numbers translate into on the farm. And if you've got an area that's served for agricultural purposes, you need 3 acre feet to produce a crop, even with the most technologically advanced application methods. What you'll find when you do the numbers is that this is closer to 1 acre feet, 1.5. And that's a number that, as we move towards water supply reliability, we need to be able to provide agricultural water users something along the lines of 2.5 to 3 acre feet. So it's a real simple number. Hard to get to, I acknowledge, but it's worth the effort to distill down to the
Yeah.
acre-foot basis.
Yeah, I think it was really just making sure that I found an exact number. I found, numbers around that. That would give you 1 to 1.5, but I wanted to make sure everything on here was 100% accurate, so.
Great.
All right.
Any questions of Emily? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think if there are no additional questions on item number 8, we can move on to the next one.
All right, Delta Science Plan, agenda item 9.
All right. So, as you know, the Delta Science program staff has been working since late last year to begin framing the science plan. It's due in December, but we're trying to ramp up and accelerate the development schedule for the science plan, and I'll get into that in a minute here. What you see in your packet is an annotated outline of the Delta plan, the Delta Science Plan, that is reflecting quite a bit of the feedback we've already gotten from various scientists in the agency, academic, and private and NGO world, and so that gives you sort of a preview of what we will share with you and on via the web for your June meeting. That's our target right now, to have the first draft ready by June. And obviously, we welcome. We're already vetting the outline and getting feedback on it. So if you have any comments, any observations you want to share, this would be the time to do that. But let me just give you a quick idea of how we are envisioning the rollout for the science plan. So we obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we're already vetting the concepts behind it and the annotated outline at the recent conferences that are still taking place, the California Environmental Water Modeling Forum and the Interagency Ecological Program annual workshop. And so we have a good audience to vet the plan and the ideas behind it, in addition to the vetting process we've already undertaken before. You're going to be busy with the Delta Plan adoption in June, so we are hoping to have the first draft of the science plan to you about 2 weeks after the Delta Plan hopefully gets adopted at your next meeting. And then provide that for public comment and for your review for discussion at the July meeting. We will, actually in the June meeting, and then hopefully incorporating comments into it for your approval of the plan in July. That's our target. May shift a little bit, but we're hoping to have the plan approved 6 months or 5 months before the deadline, so we can actually get cracking and implement it. And so that obviously there are some uncertainties associated with that release, because depending on how we're going to what kind of discussions we're entering into with the BDCP crew and the management team on that side, as well as the State Water Board, we may want to get some more feedback from them, but I don't foresee any major stumbling blocks that would prevent us from getting a plan to you, within the next couple of months. Do you have any initial impressions or feedback on the annotated outline?
Council members, reaction to the outline of the science plan?
I was just going to make a comment on just the whole process. Goodwin and staff for. The feedback that I've gotten from folks is that the process is very inclusive. They think that Dr. Goodwin is very thoughtful and include folks' comments and concerns and so forth. So would you just convey to him that feedback that I've gotten is that it does include a very thoughtful process, and they liked what he is doing.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass it on to him.
Mr. Chair, I would just comment that from the initial outline, which was just that, to what's in the packet today, and obviously what's still in store when you come back to us in June, I think significant filling of the gaps has occurred, and I think, as it would, but I think it reflects, obviously, the ongoing work, and I think to hopefully have a science plan that will be very much integrated with the Delta plan and the efforts, and we'll go forward both with the science plan and the Delta plan. So I commend the work thus far, and look forward, obviously, to discussion we'll have in June. I didn't have any specific feedback on items, but I think when we get a floor presentation in June, you'll get probably a little more subject comments then.
Great.
Doctor, do you, maybe I didn't see it here precisely, but in working with other agencies, do you have, is there anticipated an ongoing relationship with the other counterparts at other agencies like the State Board, or somewhat similar in terms of the scientists that work for them? Do you connect with them now, or are you talking about a summit, but is there going to be ongoing relationships there?
Yeah, and we've had ongoing relationships with not just the science community, but also with selected managers at the user end of the information since October, since basically the last Bay Delta Science Conference, and then throughout this development period, we've been checking in with agency scientists as well as agency managers on a regular basis. So it's definitely on the right track.
Do you see that as an integrated effort going forward? In other words, once this is done, the plan is completed, that there would be, is there thought given to how we interact in an ongoing way?
Absolutely, yeah. And there are three major planning efforts that are sort of going on in parallel, but we're talking so that we have crosswalks all along the way, and that's obviously the BDCP, the water quality control plan with flow, where at the State Water Board, and the biological opinions, so that we make sure that the science plan is embraced by everybody. With that, under the motto of One Delta, One Science, we want to make sure that everyone sees themselves reflected and is part of implementation of the Delta Science Plan, so we can actually use it for the larger we, the capital letters, the community as a whole can use it for adaptive management, and we can also use it to update the Delta Plan itself.
Would you participate in the implementation committee activity? I mean, that was discussed earlier in the meeting. Is there a role there for the science community? I'm not sure how they interact with that group.
Yeah, we've talked about two levels of engagement. One, at the implementation committee itself, with these high-level agency representatives, one seat at the table should be the lead scientist. And then as projects are agreed upon and work teams are assembled that include all of the different science disciplines, stakeholders, local interests, the science component of those work groups would be integral to the working through the issues unto completion of a particular project. So one high level, one working group level. You heard Cindy Tuck from Aqua express some concern about the concept of One Delta, One Science, and her wonderment about how stakeholders engage to the point where there is agreement on the One Science part of the One Delta. How do you anticipate once the science plan is in place to accomplish and achieve buy-in of this concept or this idea.
The messages that seem to the main message that seems to be consistent, and Cindy was on the same page on that one as well, is that the science plan and the science program will essentially be the forum for discussing the science, even if there are differences of opinion or major uncertainties that people interpret differently. Nevertheless, the holding vessel for the discussions will be available, and the science plan will provide the foundation for that forum. So I think even if we don't have even if we don't achieve in our ideal, the minimum that we would like to achieve is the common forum where we have a constructive debate, where we can exchange ideas and we hopefully move forward in some way or another.
Any other comments or questions? Chris, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that actually Don's comments about the progress, I would mirror those, and I'm really pleased with the development that has gone on at this point, and I think a lot of the issues that have come up have been dealt with, and we had a meeting about a month ago internally where the DSC staff, the non-science group, got a first crack at this, and it was really, I thought, great exchange, and those ideas that were brought out were incorporated directly. So if everything is as open as that was, with some fairly radical ideas from what had been proposed before, but it was all rather smoothly integrated, I thought, and so I was really pleased on all accounts with that effort.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Reiner, anything else?
That's it. No?
Great. Well, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for presenting the outline, and
All right.
we're going to hold you to the July deadline.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, we need it. We really do
Yep.
need the science plan completed.
Yep, I agree.
So, Godspeed.